Imagine this, a single dad veteran, someone who gave his youth, his blood, and his heart to protect his country, is now reduced to pouring coffee in a room full of men and women in uniform who never once fought beside him. A man once feared on the battlefield, now treated as invisible. And that's where our story begins. He walked into the Pentagon briefing room quietly, wearing a simple shirt and slacks. His beard was trimmed, his back still straight, but his eyes carried the weight of sleepless nights. Everyone else in the room carried authority, polished shoes, pressed uniforms, shiny badges that caught the light. He carried nothing but a coffee pot. Some chuckled under their breath, others didn't bother to notice. To them, he was just the guy serving coffee. But to his little daughter waiting at home, he was the entire world. As he set the cups down, a whisper floated across the table. "Poor guy, probably washed out of the service. He looks too broken." They didn't know. They couldn't know. Every pour of coffee came with memories, the sand, the blood, the comrades who never made it home. He had chosen to take this low-paying job because it gave him evenings free to tuck his daughter into bed, something no rank or medal had ever offered him. And then it happened. A hush fell across the room as the door opened. She walked in, the highest-ranking female general in the Navy, decorated with stars and a reputation built on steel and fire. Conversations died instantly. Everyone rose to attention. He lowered his head, avoiding her gaze, and kept pouring. But as he leaned forward to place a cup in front of a colonel, his sleeve slid up his forearm. For a brief second, the silver glint of his Navy SEAL ring caught the general's eye. She froze mid-step. "Stop," she commanded. The room obeyed. Silence deepened. She stepped forward slowly, her eyes fixed on his hand. "Where did you get that ring?" He hesitated, feeling the weight of every stare in the room. His throat tightened. "Ma'am, I earned it." Gasps broke out around the table. The colonel whose cup he had just filled suddenly sat back stiffly, ashamed. The general's face softened, the steel in her eyes melting into recognition. She had seen men like him before, men who carried invisible scars, men who chose family over fame. "Stand up straight, sailor," she said firmly. For the first time in years, he squared his shoulders the way he used to in formation. She studied him, then turned to the others. "Do you know who you've been mocking? This man wore that ring in places you'll only read about in classified files. He bled for you while you sat safe at home. He didn't wash out, he survived what most of us never could." A wave of shame passed over the room. The whispers died, replaced with uneasy silence. She turned back to him. "You shouldn't be serving coffee here. You should be advising this room." His chest tightened. He wanted to refuse, to stay in the shadows, but she wasn't asking, she was offering a chance. Not for glory, for dignity, for the respect he'd long buried. Later that night, he sat on his couch, his daughter curled up against him, watching cartoons. He thought about what the general had said. And he realized something. He had been hiding not because he was ashamed, but because he was afraid the world wouldn't understand the price he had paid. But maybe, just maybe, it was time to step back into the light, not for himself, but to show his daughter that true strength isn't in medals or titles. It's in standing back up when the world knocks you down. The next morning, he walked back into that same briefing room, this time not with a coffee pot, but with a seat at the table. He didn't need applause. He didn't need recognition. All he needed was the knowledge that his story wasn't over. And if you're listening right now, maybe you need to hear this too. No matter what life has reduced you to, no matter who overlooks you, your worth is not defined by their opinions. It's defined by the battles you've fought, the sacrifices you've made, and the love you continue to give. So if this story touched you, if it made you feel something, don't just keep it to yourself. Hit that like button, share this with someone who needs hope, and subscribe. Because there are more stories like this. Stories that remind us we are stronger than the world believes. Because sometimes, even a man serving coffee is the quiet warrior who has already won the hardest battles.